Welcome back, everyone. Hope your day is going well. Hope it hasn't been too rough. I'm showing off the Swordsoul Icejade deck profile that I use for Master Duel. It's not competitive. It doesn't have any hand traps. It's just fun to summon a lot of monsters in a different way with Icejade and Swordsoul, kind of sticking to their lore a little bit. But yeah, let's get into the deck profile. So we'll start off with the Soul Tenyi package that you see in most Swordsoul decks. So we have 2 Tenyi Spirited Hara. This is our level 1 tuner that we can go into a lot of our level 8 synchro plays. We have 2 Tenyi Spirit Vishuddha. Most of the time it's going to be material for Longwan, or potentially a way to get a card on your opponent's field back into their hand with its effect. I'm going to go ahead and just hold those effect things longer so you guys can see that if you want to pause the screen. There we go. We have 1 Tenyi Spirit Ashuna, so it has a good summon effect if you don't have a lot else going for it in your hand. Most of the time, though, we're going to be using it as material. Going into the Swordsoul part of it, we have Swordsoul Moye. This is going to be the main normal summon that we want to use, the main starter of most of the Swordsoul combos. We have 3 of those. 3 Swordsoul Taya. So not necessarily the main starter of the combos, but a good way to finish it out if you have the Sacred Summit, or if you don't have Moye and you can get a worm monster into the graveyard, a good option. We have 3 Ecclesia, so a good opener as well to go into Taya or potentially go into Moye. 3 Longwan, so this is going to be your level 10 play that you can do with Synchro Summoning. You just need another worm or Swordsoul in your hand. Let's see, no other monsters. So we have, I really wish I could adjust the way that Master Duel plays their cards out. So Swordsoul Emergence, this is just our search for our Swordsoul cards to get them into the hand. 2 Swordsoul Sacred Summit, this is our Monster Reborn for them. Each of those cards you can banish from the graveyard, usually with Taya, and you can adjust the level of one of your monsters on the field. We also have Swordsoul Blackout. This is our good trap for Swordsouls or worms, or potentially banish it to get a level 4 tuner onto the field. So that wraps it up for the Swordsoul Tenyi part. Now we can go into the Icejade part of it. So we have 2 Icejade Agerine. So this is going to be your normal summon if you don't have a Swordsoul to use, or the cards in your hand just aren't able to get it out there. Otherwise, it's also going to be material for Rain Agerine. We also have Icejade Tremora, so only 1 copy. This is essentially a way to get Moye on the field, or Agerine, or potentially be used as material for Rain Agerine. 1 Icejade Creation, level 7 tuner. Most of the time if you're going second and they have a monster on their field, you can use Agerine to then go into the spell Manifestation to then grab Creation to get your level 10 tuner on, or level 10 synchro onto the field. 3 copies of Rain Agerine. This is the main one that I want to see in my hand, with at least another water monster or Icejade card to be able to immediately go into a level 10 synchro monster. 2 Icejade Cradle. This is the way to search for your Icejade monsters. You can also do it more than once per turn. Just depends on what you have in your graveyard, what you control. And 1 Icejade Manifestation. Again, this is if your opponent has a monster on their field, you can special summon out an Icejade onto your field to go into your plays. Now for the other tech monsters and spells we have 2 Ascitor Dawnwalker. This is a good way to go into a level 8 play. You just have to discard a card. It does lock you into synchros, but that's mostly what I have. Using Dawnwalker does require you to use Fire Ant Ascitor, which essentially is a brick, but depending on what you have in your hand, you may be able to normal summon it out with, let's say, Vishuddha and go into level 10. So it just kind of depends. 1 Destrudo. Destrudo is your way to go into other synchro plays like level 7s, level 10s, level 11s, just depending on what you have on the field, because it can adjust its level depending on what you have. For spells, we have Upstart Goblin. Give them 1,000 life points, draw a card. We don't care about the extra life points, we can do enough damage for it. Dark World Dealings, drawing a card, discarding a card for me and the other opponents. Pot of Desires, banish 10, draw 2 cards. Pretty simple there. It also helps with Grandmaster. And that is it for the main deck. I just want to make sure real quick. Okay, now for the extra deck. So we have Clearwing Synchro Dragon. Most of the time I'm going to be using this with Adrian and Destrudo. Potentially you can use it with Taya, but usually you want to go into level 8 with Taya. So Clearwing Synchro has some pretty good effects, especially on turn 1. You can kind of block some plays for their level 5 or higher monsters. Stardust Spark Dragon, the main thing that we're going to use him for is just as material to go into Chaos Angel. So Chaos Angel requires it doesn't require, sorry, you just really want to use a light and dark monster to synchro summon it out. So the combo for that would be have Dawnwalker and Destrudo in your hand. You can use Dawnwalker's effect, send Destrudo to the grave, get Ascator on the field along with Dawnwalker, then special summon out Destrudo to make it a level 2, focusing on Dawnwalker. Use Dawnwalker to go into Stardust Spark, and then Destrudo and Stardust Spark into Chaos Angel to get its effects. We also have Baxia. So Baxia is a normal target for potentially Taya, sometimes Moye depending on what you have. It essentially can pop 1 to 2 cards depending on if you use Taya or Moye. Clearwing Synchro Dragon. So the only way that I'm really going to get to him is if I have Taya and Swordsoul or Sacred Summit or Emergence potentially. But what I would want to do is have Taya banish one of those two, go into a level 7. We also would need Adhara on the field. So we go into Clearwing, and then with Adhara can go into Clearwing Synchro. So that's the only way I can really get that one on there. Potentially, if you have Destrudo on the field, maybe using Swordsoul Strategist as well, which actually that's a good way to do that too. So Draco Berserker of the Tenyi is another level 8 we have, just generic. But being a good one, just, Ascator, Dawnwalker can go into it, so good to have. Emancipator Dragite, a good target for blocking spells, as long as you have Moye or another water monster in the grave. Cyber / Harpy, so I like having this one as a potential turn 1 target for Dawnwalker. If I can't get into any other plays, like if I can't get Dragite, potentially go into Cyber / just to have some type of interruption. Grandmaster, this is going to be your main target for your Swordsoul plays, the first thing that you want to pull out. Baronne de Fleur, we're using it because we can in Master Duel, it's not banned yet, so it's our level 10 target. Supreme Sovereign, this is your target for either Icejade or level 10 stuff, depending on what you have. Sinister Sovereign. If I do summon him, I'm usually going to summon him first with Long One to be able to draw cards off of summoning other Swordsoul monsters. And then Icejade Mir Agarin, however you want to say it, the one we have for there. And Chaos Angel we kind of already went over. And then Psychic and Punisher, you're really only going to get him out with Destrudo, so being able to have your life points and then bring out Psychic and Punisher is great, because then he's going to get that much more attack power. And then 1 Monk of Tenyi, just to be able to send our Tenyi monster to the graveyard. Let's say we need one for Taya, we could just summon them, link off, and then go into Taya. But yeah, that's the deck profile. Typical hand over here that we see. So we have Emergence, we have Swordsoul Moye, so we could literally go Cradle into Ranadrine, and then go into level 10 Synchro before we even do our Swordsoul plays. Then we can go into our Swordsoul plays and go from there. But yeah. So thank you very much for watching, hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next one.